I stand motionless in the entryway of my parents' suburban Boulder house, late afternoon sunlight stretching in long golden lines across the polished hardwood floors. I'm here to pick up my boys after my mother insisted she would watch them while I wrapped up a work presentation, but the voices drifting from the kitchen stop me in my tracks like a physical barrier. Let Claire's kids eat first. Eli and Noah can have what's left. My mother's voice, Linda's voice, carries easily through the open layout, casual and unbothered, the tone of someone who assumes she'll never be questioned. My sister Claire responds with a soft, almost musical laugh that twists something deep in my stomach. They might as well get used to it. Kids like them don't need much. For a second, I can't breathe. My heart slams against my ribs so hard it feels audible. I take 3 slow, silent steps forward, enough to see past the archway into the dining room. Ava and Connor, my niece and nephew, sit at the formal table. Their plates are heaped with steaming lasagna, garlic bread, salad served in the good bowls. The good plates, too, the heavy ceramic ones my mother only brings out for holidays and important guests. My gaze lowers. On the kitchen tile floor, my sons sit cross-legged, paper plates balanced carefully on their laps. Eli, 8 years old, shoulders slightly hunched. Noah, 6, trying to keep his sandwich from sliding off the flimsy edge. The bread is plain white, not even cut diagonally the way they love. No chips, no fruit, just cold sandwiches already curling at the edges. My father, Gerald, sits in his recliner nearby, newspaper lifted high. He lowers it just enough to peer over the rim of his glasses. They need to learn their place in this world. Time fractures. The air thickens. I feel the room closing in around me. I study my boys' posture, the way their heads are bent, eyes fixed downward. The familiar rounding of shoulders I now recognize as shame. How many afternoons like this have happened while I was answering emails, trusting family? How many small humiliations have I missed? My hands begin to shake, a slow tremor building into something volcanic in my chest. Boys, I say quietly, my voice thinner than I expect. Get your backpacks. 5 heads snap toward me. My mother's expression transforms instantly, her lips stretching into a bright, brittle smile. Oh, we didn't hear you come in. Claire straightens the silverware beside her plate, aligning the fork with unnecessary precision. She avoids my eyes. The boys said they wanted sandwiches. The lie sits in the center of the room, heavy and sour. Eli looks at me. His dark eyes, so much like Malcolm's, lock onto mine. No words pass between us, but everything does. Truth, hurt, and something else that splits my heart clean in two. Acceptance. Noah rises slowly from the tile, brushing crumbs from his lap. His voice is tight, small. Can we go home now? 4 words. That's all it takes. Gerald makes a dismissive motion with his hand, the newspaper rustling sharply. They're fine. Don't be so sensitive. Sensitive. My mind flashes to my checkbook resting in my purse. The $6,800 check I wrote last month for their roof replacement. The $5,000 before that for Claire's van transmission. 9 years of steady payments since I got my first real salary at 25. 9 years of Malcolm's gentle caution. They call you when they need money, not when they want you. The memory of co-signing their $260,000 mortgage settles onto my shoulders like a physical weight. I had defended them every time Malcolm questioned it. That's just how they are. They're old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. The word feels rancid now. Linda steps toward me, holding out her coffee mug as if it's a peace offering. You're always rushing. Stay for coffee. Claire slips in smoothly. It's not a big deal. Kids don't notice things like this. I walk past them without responding, lifting my son's jackets from the wall hooks. I notice how fast they move. The efficiency. Eli helping Noah zip his coat without being asked. This is practiced. They've done this before. Quiet exits. No protest. No tears. Don't make a scene, Gerald warns, folding his paper carefully, as if the act itself reinforces his authority. You're overreacting. I inhale deeply. Something firm settles in my chest where doubt used to live. We're leaving, I say. We won't be back until you can explain this. Claire's eyes narrow, entitlement radiating off her like heat. Linda's hands flutter anxiously at her throat as panic creeps into her expression, the narrative slipping beyond her control. Gerald's posture falters slightly when I don't retreat. Eli takes Noah's hand, protective, too protective for an 8-year-old. As we walk down the hallway, I notice the framed photos lining the walls, years of subtle arrangement I never questioned. Claire's family centered in every image, smiling, framed in symmetry. Malcolm and the boys and I appear on the edges, half-turned, sometimes partially obscured. as if we could be cropped out and no one would feel the loss. The front door shuts behind us with a soft click that echoes louder than a slam. In the warm glow of late afternoon, holding my son's hands, clarity sweeps over me. This isn't new, I murmur under my breath. I've just been blind. I guide them to the car, away from the house that suddenly feels less like home, and more like the scene of a slow, quiet crime I've been funding for nearly a decade. Later that night, I sit cross-legged on our bed, laptop open, the glow of a spreadsheet lighting the dark room. 9 years of transactions scroll in neat, clinical rows, a digital record of my own complicity. Malcolm stands in the doorway, holding a mug of chamomile tea. He doesn't speak. He sets it beside me and studies my face. The crease between his brows tells me he's worried, but he's waiting. $141,000, I whisper. The number burns going down. 9 years of emergencies. Malcolm sits beside me, silent, patient. I open another document, one I started 4 hours ago. A list of times they weren't there for us. My gallbladder surgery when Mom was too busy to watch the boys. Our move when Dad's back went out. Eli's pneumonia when Claire didn't want her kids exposed. My phone buzzes, a text from Linda. You're being dramatic. Come back tomorrow. Malcolm's fingers lace with mine. They've never invited us for Christmas morning, he says gently. Always the afternoon. The memory slams into me. Every Christmas for 8 years, arriving after gifts were opened because morning was family time. Claire's family included, ours excluded. I never asked why. I scroll through voicemails. Gerald's pattern is unmistakable. Warm greeting, brief personal check-in, then the request. Sweetheart, property taxes went up again. We could use a little extra support. Support. As if I owe them forever. Claire's texts sting even more. References to those boys. Comments about Noah's hair being so ethnic. Suggestions about straightening it. Canceled plans with thin excuses.
Linda's messages swing wildly between guilt and affection, inconsistency that kept me tethered and confused. Then I discover something that chills me entirely. Gerald is still listed as emergency contact at the boys' school, a form I was certain I updated. Claire, PTA secretary, with access to everything. I close the laptop near midnight, but sleep won't come. At 2 a.m., I stand in the doorway of the boys' bedroom, watching them breathe under Noah's turtle-shaped nightlight. They don't love my children the way they should, I whisper. The truth is so obvious now, it's almost embarrassing. I begin quietly removing framed photos from our hallway. In one from Eli's kindergarten graduation, Claire's kids are centered while mine are cut off at the edges. In another from Thanksgiving, Noah reaches for a roll while my father's hand blocks him mid-frame. Malcolm finds me replacing them with pictures of camping trips, beach days, backyard barbecues, photos where our boys' smiles are wide and unguarded. It's time to protect them, he says softly. Tears slide down my cheeks, but the guilt that once paralyzed me has shifted into something sharper, stronger. I've been paying for my children to be rejected, I admit. The next morning, I call Sarah, my best friend since college. After I tell her everything, the silence on the line stretches long. I've seen it for years, she finally says. I didn't know how to tell you. The validation cracks something open inside me. Support flows from unexpected places. Malcolm's parents offering help without hesitation. My coworker Taylor sharing resources about bias in extended families. My boss granting personal days with a look that says she understands. By evening, I take concrete steps. Canceling the automatic transfers. Calling the mortgage company to remove my name. Restricting new credit activity. Closing the emergency fund account I maintained for them. Each action feels hollow and powerful at once. 2 days later, my father's voicemail booms through my kitchen for the third time. Jacqueline, there's a banking error. The transfer didn't go through. Call me immediately. There is no error, only choice. My thumb hovers over delete, but I save it instead. Evidence. My mother calls again. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice trembles in that familiar, manufactured way. Sweetheart, please. The mortgage is due next week. We'll lose the house. How could you do this? Malcolm watches me carefully. You okay? I inhale, steady. No error, Dad. Just boundaries. The words feel foreign but right. I'm better than okay, I tell Malcolm, and for the first time, I mean it. The doorbell rings. Noah runs toward the living room, shouting, I'll get it. Wait, I call. But he's already turning the lock. The door swings open to reveal Claire standing on our porch, her expression a perfect mask of sisterly concern. My stomach tightens. Auntie Claire, Noah exclaims, genuine delight in his voice that makes my heart ache. He doesn't understand yet.
Claire steps inside without waiting for an invitation. Jacqueline, we need to talk. This has gone far enough. Noah, please go finish your homework with Eli, I say, keeping my voice level. He hesitates, sensing the tension, then disappears down the hallway. You can't just show up at my home unannounced, I tell her once he's gone. I tried your office first, she replies, as if this proves her point. Your assistant wouldn't let me in. Taylor had texted me a warning. Your sister's here. I told her you're in meetings all day. Should I call security? I'd been grateful then. I'm furious now. You went to my workplace? That's completely inappropriate. Claire waves away my objection. Family comes first, Jacqueline. You used to understand that. The bitter laugh escapes before I can stop it. Family comes first? Is that why my sons were eating sandwiches on the kitchen floor while your kids had lasagna at the table? Her face flushes. You're still being dramatic about that. Mom explained. Get out, I say quietly. She blinks, genuinely surprised. What? Get out of my house, now. Malcolm appears beside me, solid and steady. You heard her, Claire. It's time for you to leave. After she storms out, the house feels suddenly lighter. Malcolm orders pizza for dinner, something we rarely do on weeknights. We eat around the coffee table, watching a movie the boys choose. Eli and Noah laugh more freely than I've heard in months, their shoulders relaxed, their smiles reaching their eyes. Later, after the boys are in bed, Malcolm finds me at the kitchen table, scrolling through dozens of missed calls and messages. Uncle Robert asking why I've abandoned the family. Cousin Jennifer wondering if I'm having a mental health episode. A notification from the community Facebook group where someone has anonymously questioned my family values. You know what I noticed tonight? Malcolm asks, sliding into the chair beside me. I look up from the phone. What? I've never seen you stand this tall, he says simply. The tears come without warning, hot and unexpected. Not sad tears, relieving ones, like a pressure valve finally releasing. I was never the problem, I whisper, the realization crystallizing. I was the solution they exploited. Malcolm takes my hand. Start writing it down, all of it. The journal becomes my armor. Every manipulation, every emergency loan, every subtle slight against Malcolm or the boys. 9 years of financial transfers, meticulously recorded alongside the corresponding familial obligation. The pattern emerges in black and white. Money flowing out, conditional love trickling back. When Linda requests a meeting at Copperleaf Coffee, 2 days later, neutral ground she calls it, I agree, but I am prepared this time. She arrives precisely 15 minutes late, eyes redden just enough to draw sympathetic exits from other patrons. Her timing is impeccable, not so late that I might leave, but long enough that my coffee has cooled and my patience has thinned. Sweetheart, she begins, voice lowered to a confidential whisper. You know how certain neighbors talk. We're just keeping things comfortable. My hand slips into my pocket, pressing record on my phone. What exactly do you mean, Mom? Her eyes dart to the table beside us, where an elderly couple pretend not to listen. You know exactly what I mean. Your boys are wonderful, but different. We help them navigate that. Different how? I press, my voice steady.
Linda leans closer. Sweetheart, you know how certain neighbors talk. We're just keeping things comfortable. You already said that. What do you mean by comfortable? She sighs. It's about appearances, Jackie. We can't help what people think when they see mixed families. I slide the phone onto the table between us, screen illuminated to show the active recording. Say exactly what you mean, Mom. I want it on record. The color drains from her face as her eyes fix on the phone. You're recording me? Your own mother? Yes. Now explain what you meant about my children being different. She stands abruptly, gathering her purse. I won't be ambushed like this. When you're ready to be reasonable, call me. Malcolm takes the boys for ice cream while I meet with the financial advisor. Sarah accompanies me to the bank to remove my name from my parents' accounts. My therapist validates the boundaries I'm establishing, helping me navigate the guilt that still occasionally surfaces. When Claire appears at my office again, my coworkers create a buffer. Taylor intercepts her at the front desk while Diane calls security. James walks me to my car afterward. At school, the counselor meets with Eli and Noah, providing a safe space for them to process their confusion. Your boys are remarkably resilient, she tells me during our follow-up.
They understand more than you might think. The invitation to dinner at Malcolm's parents' home comes as a welcome respite. Joyce embraces Eli and Noah as they arrive, her affection natural and unreserved. Thomas leads the boys to his workshop after dinner, patiently showing them how to sand wood for the birdhouse they're building together. I watch from the doorway as Thomas guides Noah's small hands over the sandpaper. Smooth strokes, buddy, there you go. The contrast with my own family strikes me deeply. No conditions, no subtle reminders of difference, just love, expressed through time and attention. Joyce joins me, passing a cup of tea. They're wonderful boys, she says simply. Thomas is so patient with them, I observe. She smiles. That's family for you. Real family. What do you mean? Thomas looks up from his workbench. Family is behavior, not blood, Jackie. Never forget that. The truth of his words settles in my chest. Around these grandparents, my sons laugh without restraint, ask questions without fear, exist without apology. The final meeting with my parents is set for Sunday afternoon. I arrive 20 minutes early, using the spare key they don't know I've kept. The house is quiet as I step inside, but voices drift from the kitchen. I pause in the entryway, listening. Jacqueline always gets so dramatic, Linda sighs. The boys are sweet, but they'll have a hard time in life. Better they learn early. At least she always comes back with money, Claire responds, her voice matter of fact. She's our safety net. My father's reply freezes my blood. The mixed ones will always be a little different. It's just reality. My fingers find my phone automatically, opening the recording app as I step into view. 3 heads turn toward me, expressions shifting from surprise to calculated welcome. I press record and hold up the phone where they can all see it. Tell me more about the mixed ones, Dad. I'm listening. I stand in the doorway of my parents' living room, phone clutched in my palm. Gerald, Linda, and Claire freeze like deer caught in headlights. I heard everything, and I recorded it, I repeat. My voice comes out steadier than I feel. Gerald recovers first, his face morphing from shock to dismissal. You misunderstood what we were saying, Jackie. We were talking about how society treats children like yours, not how we feel. No misunderstanding necessary. I step forward, placing my leather portfolio on the coffee table. I heard exactly what you meant about my mixed children. Claire's eyes widened, her hand flying to her throat. That's not fair. You're twisting our words. I unzip the portfolio, removing a stack of neatly printed spreadsheets. 9 years of financial transactions laid bare in black and white. I slide them across the polished walnut surface, watching their eyes track the movement. $141,000. I tap the bottom figure, circled in red. That's what I've given this family since I was 25, not including co-signing your mortgage. Gerald barely glances at the papers. Family helps family. That's how it works. This isn't help. It's parasitism. The word hangs between us, sharp and undeniable. Linda flinches as if I'd slapped her. I pull a typed statement from the back of my portfolio. I've prepared this for clarity. I'm ending all financial support permanently. The automatic transfers have already been stopped. I've contacted the mortgage company about removing my name, though that will take longer. Gerald's face flushes dark red. You can't just walk away from family obligations. Watch me. Claire's face crumples, tears spilling down her cheeks with practiced precision. We never meant it that way. You're twisting our words. I've seen this performance before. The quivering lip, the catch in her voice. It worked on teachers, boyfriends, and me for decades. Not today. Linda clutches her chest, her voice dropping to a whisper. Your father's blood pressure can't take this stress. Is that what you want, to put him in the hospital? You should have thought about his health before you decided my children deserve to eat scraps on the kitchen floor. Gerald's voice hardens. I wonder what Malcolm's boss would think about these family concerns. Mental stability affects job performance, you know. The threat lands like a punch. Malcolm's position at the university is everything to him. Claire pounces on my hesitation. It might be worth a call to child services. Family instability raises red flags. Linda nods solemnly. Pastor Williams was just asking about your family last Sunday. The church community notices when people stop attending together. Their coordinated attack nearly knocks me off balance. For a moment, I'm 8 years old again, caught between Claire's accusations and my parents' united front of disapproval. The front door opens. Malcolm's footsteps echo in the hallway.
He appears beside me, tall and solid. Without a word, he places his phone on the table and presses play. Gerald's voice fills the room. The mixed ones will always be a little different. It's just reality. Claire gasps. You were both recording us? Threats won't change our decision, I say quietly. Malcolm speaks for the first time, his voice calm but firm. Our children won't be exposed to this again. I gather the spreadsheets, tucking them back into my portfolio. No money, no contact, no exceptions. Gerald rises from his chair, pointing a finger at Malcolm.
You're behind this. You've turned her against her own family. Malcolm doesn't flinch. Jacqueline makes her own decisions, always has. The realization spreads across my father's face slowly. His typical tactics, divide and manipulate, won't work this time. We're united. Linda reaches for my hand. I step back. We're done here, I say, zipping the portfolio closed with finality. 2 months later, Sarah calls with news from her cousin who attends my parents' church. They missed their mortgage payment. The bank sent notices. I feel nothing but a dull ache where guilt used to live. The following week, Claire's husband Tom calls Malcolm. They're repossessing Claire's car. She's been calling everyone for loans, Malcolm tells me over dinner, watching my reaction carefully. How do you feel about it? He asks. Like I can finally breathe. 3 weeks after that, we hear Gerald tried leveraging community sympathy at their church's potluck. His story backfired when he mentioned my ungrateful abandonment to Pastor Williams, who asked pointed questions about why I'd withdrawn support. A month later, Tom leaves Claire after discovering credit card debt hidden in his name. Their suburban facade crumbles quickly without my financial foundation. I watch it all from a distance that grows more comfortable each day. My therapist notices first. Your shoulders aren't up around your ears anymore, she says during our weekly session. That night, Malcolm slides into bed beside me, his hand finding mine in the darkness. You smile more. You sleep through the night. Do I? Haven't heard you grinding your teeth in weeks. Eli's questions about his grandparents grow less frequent. His nighttime anxiety attacks, which I had never connected to family visits, subside. Noah's artwork transforms gradually. The dark scribbles that concerned his teacher brighten. Stick figures hold hands, smiling with oversized grins. At work, I find myself speaking up in meetings without rehearsing every word in my head. My boss notices. Your presentation to the executive team was exceptional. We're considering you for the senior management position. A position I'd never pursued because weekend family emergencies consumed the extra hours needed for career advancement. On a Tuesday evening in June, Malcolm spreads brochures across our kitchen table after the boys are asleep. What's this? I ask. Summer vacation options. Just the 4 of us. I pause, waiting for the familiar knot of anxiety. How will my parents react if we don't visit them? What excuse will placate Claire? The knot doesn't form. Instead, a strange lightness fills my chest as I look at pictures of beaches, mountains, and lakes. The boys would love that waterfall hike, I say, pointing to a glossy photo. Malcolm's smile spreads slowly. 4 tickets, then. No extended family discount needed. I lean against his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. Just us. Just us, he echoes, his arms circling my waist. The weight I've carried for decades continues to lighten, one obligation at a time. I slam the phone down harder than intended, my hand trembling. 5 months since I cut financial ties with my parents, and the calls keep coming. This time, Linda's voice had that rehearsed quiver, the one she uses when aiming straight for my guilt. We can't survive without help, Jackie. We've had to sell the house. The image of their sprawling suburban home, the one I co-signed for, flashes in my mind, now replaced by a 2-bedroom apartment across town, according to Mom. Part of me feels a twisted satisfaction. The larger part feels the familiar weight of responsibility pressing down. Malcolm slides a cup of tea beside my laptop without comment. His eyes ask the question he doesn't voice. They've moved to an apartment, I say, wrapping my fingers around the warm mug. Mom says they're barely making ends meet. He nods once, face neutral. We've played this scene before. My phone buzzes with a text. Claire, you've gotten what you wanted. Happy now? Mom cried all night. They had to sell Dad's coin collection to make rent. So vindictive. The word burns. Vindictive. As if boundaries equal revenge. There's a family gathering Sunday, I tell Malcolm, scrolling through Claire's follow-up texts. Aunt Patty is hosting. Apparently I'm the main topic of conversation these days. Are we going? Malcolm asks, his tone carefully even. I shake my head. Not a chance. But Claire made sure I know they're taking up a collection at church for Mom and Dad's medical needs. The air quotes feel childish, but necessary. Dad's blood pressure has become their favorite leverage point. Malcolm sits beside me at the kitchen table, his presence solid. Your father called me yesterday. My head snaps up. What? Why didn't you say anything? Wanted to see how it played out. He stretches his long legs under the table. He implied he might contest the mortgage removal, said something about legal options and family obligations. Ice forms in my stomach. Can he do that? No, but he thinks the threat will work. The doorbell rings, startling us both.
Through the front window, I spot Claire's silver SUV in our driveway. What now? I'll get it, Malcolm says, squeezing my shoulder as he passes. I hear their voices in the entryway. Claire is high and tight. Malcolm's low and controlled. Then her heels clicking on the hardwood as she follows him into the kitchen. We need to talk, she announces, not bothering with hello. She looks thinner, the designer purse on her arm less new than her usual. Financial reality has begun to bite. Then talk, I say, not offering her a seat. Her eyes narrow. This has gone far enough, Jackie. Dad's doctor says his health is declining from stress. Mom can barely sleep. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not. Claire tosses her hair back. You're punishing them because you can't handle the truth. Which is? She leans forward, voice dropping. That when those boys grow up, they'll face a world that sees them differently. We were preparing them. My fingers curl into fists under the table. By feeding them on the floor while your kids got the good china? That was one time. It wasn't. The certainty in my voice stops her. And we both know it. Claire straightens, switching tactics. Mom says you're killing Dad with stress. Is that what you want? And when your boys are older, I'll make sure they know exactly why their grandfather died. The threat hangs between us. I feel Malcolm stiffen beside me, but he stays silent, letting me handle my sister. Anything else? I ask. Her eyes flick the arenas, searching for cracks. Finding none, she grabs her purse. The whole family knows what you're doing. Everyone at church, even the neighbors. They all see you for what you are. After she leaves, the pressure to give in just this once, just a little money to help them through, nearly overwhelms me. The familiar role of fixer beckons like an old addiction. Malcolm's hand covers mine. They survived before you, they'll survive now. I nod, though the words feel hollow against 20 years of conditioning. That night, Eli crawls into bed between us during a thunderstorm, his small body curled against my side. After the thunder subsides, he remains awake, thoughtful in the way that always makes him older than 8. Mom, he whispers, is it because Dad's black?
The question knocks the air from my lungs. In the dim glow of the nightlight, I see Malcolm freeze on the other side of the bed, eyes open but unreadable. Why do you ask that, honey? I manage. Eli picks at a loose thread on the comforter. Grandpa told Connor that kids like me and Noah have to work twice as hard because of our dad. Truth hovers on my tongue, battling with protection. I look across at Malcolm, whose pain is visible even in the shadows. Yes, honey, I finally say. Some people have small minds, even people who are supposed to love you. Malcolm's hand finds mine across our son's body. Even Grandma and Grandpa? Eli's voice is small. Even them, I confirm. But it's their problem, not yours, and it's why we don't visit anymore. Later, after Eli falls asleep, Malcolm and I sit at the kitchen table, speaking in low voices. He tells me about the comments over the years, subtle digs, jokes that weren't really jokes, the way my father would introduce him as Jacqueline's husband rather than by name. I didn't tell you everything, he admits. You already felt caught in the middle. The revelation cements something in me, a certainty that had been forming for months. We're doing the right thing. 6 months after the initial confrontation, Malcolm comes home with unexpected news. Your father called, wants to meet for coffee. His expression is cautious. Just me. The meeting happens at a neutral coffee shop downtown. I spend the hour pacing our kitchen, jumping when the door finally opens. Malcolm's face gives nothing away as he sets his keys on the counter. Your father apologized. I blink, certain I've misheard. For what specifically? For how he treated me. The boys. He shakes his head, looking dazed. Said he's been doing a lot of thinking since they downsized. Realized some things about himself he's not proud of. The next day, Linda calls, her voice lacking the usual manipulation. We'd like to try family counseling, all of us. We were wrong, Jackie. We want to rebuild, not for money, for family. The familiar skepticism rises. The money isn't coming back, I say firmly. Love my children or stay away. Those are the only terms. I understand, she says. And for once, I think she might. In the months that follow, my journal of incidents becomes a healing tool in our family counseling sessions. The financial records showing the exploitation pattern remain in a folder on my desk. Protection, not ammunition. The recordings documenting their racism stay on my phone, unplayed but preserved. Gerald joins a local unconscious bias group, his participation shocking everyone, including himself. Linda cries during our 3rd session, a raw, ugly crying I've never seen from my always composed mother. I was raised with these beliefs, she admits. I want to be better. Claire's progress comes more slowly. She attends the sessions but speaks little,
her defense is higher. Yet by the third month, even she begins to acknowledge the harm done. We meet for dinner at a moderately priced restaurant to mark 3 months of counseling. For the first time in my adult life, everyone pays their own bill. No subtle looks in my direction when the check arrives. No convenient trips to the restroom as the server approaches. Watching my father explain the rules of baseball to Noah across the table, I realize the power dynamics have permanently altered. Not through revenge, as Claire once accused, but through truth, through boundaries that should have been established years ago. As we leave, Linda touches my arm. "Thank you for giving us another chance." I nod, not quite ready to forgive completely, but acknowledging the journey. "It's not for me," I tell her, watching my sons walk ahead with their grandfather. "It's for them. They deserve grandparents who see them, all of them." She follows my gaze, something new in her eyes, something that looks remarkably like understanding. I lean back in my chair at Riverside Grill, a modest restaurant with warm lighting and the faint scent of rosemary in the air. 1 year has passed since that day in my parents' kitchen, the day everything changed. Now my gaze travels across the table, where Gerald listens with genuine interest as Eli describes his lay historic project. "So then I mix the blue and yellow," Eli explains, his hands moving animatedly. "And my teacher said my trees looked just like the real ones outside our window." Gerald nods, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "That's talent, buddy. Maybe you could show me how to paint trees sometime." The question holds no hidden agenda, no conditional approval, just a grandfather who wants to share his grandson's passion. Beside them, Linda leans toward Noah, peppering him with questions about his baseball season. "And you caught that fly ball? Right at the fence?" Noah beams, spine straight with pride instead of tension. "Coach says I have a good eye for tracking the ball." At the kids' table nearby, Claire's children and my boys trade jokes and french fries with easy camaraderie. No hierarchy, no subtle positioning, just cousins enjoying each other's company. The setting mirrors that first dinner almost exactly, family gathered around food. Yet everything has changed. Noah shares his science project award without searching our faces for validation. Eli tells stories without that nervous glance I used to know so well, checking if anyone was really listening. Gerald turns to Malcolm. "How's that new project coming along?" "The Sustainable Housing Initiative," he explains, and Gerald asks follow-up questions that show he's been paying attention all these months. Linda divides her attention equally between all 4 grandchildren, helping Connor with his napkin one moment and praising Noah's drawing the next. Claire catches my eye across the table. The entitlement that once shadowed her features has softened into something resembling gratitude. She's working now, her first full-time job in years, and the accomplishment sits well on her shoulders. When the check arrives, everyone reaches for their wallets without discussion. No more financial imbalance, no more unspoken obligations. "I've got mine," Claire says, sliding her card into the folder. The waiter brings separate checks without being asked. We've been here often enough now that he knows our routine. Later, as we gather our things, Malcolm leans close. "You stand taller now," he whispers, his breath warm against my ear. I squeeze his hand. I finally know my worth. Outside in the parking lot, Linda pulls me aside, while the others help the children into their jackets. "Losing your support was the best thing that happened to us," she says, her voice steady with hard-won wisdom. "It forced us to see what mattered." I nod, knowing our monthly family therapy sessions continue to unearth surprising growth, especially from Gerald. His work on confronting his prejudice runs deeper than any of us expected. Linda and Malcolm's mother meet regularly for coffee now, sharing grandchildren's stories and recipes. Even Claire makes steady progress, though slower than the others. The drive home is peaceful. In the rearview mirror, Eli whispers something that makes Noah collapse into giggles in his booster seat. Malcolm's hand finds mine across the console, his touch familiar and grounding. "The best investment I ever made," I say softly, watching my boys in the mirror, "was teaching my boys that respect can't be bought and love doesn't come with conditions." Malcolm's fingers tighten around mine as I drive toward home, toward the life we've built on truth rather than compromise. In the backseat, my sons laugh freely, unburdened by expectations they never should have carried. And in that simple sound, I hear our victory.